Hi, everyone. Welcome. And today I am so excited to be having a conscious conversation with one of my dear friends, a soul sister, someone who I know we have had many past lives together and, bringing forth the beautiful wisdom of Law of One and unity consciousness and so forth. And before I share the video, I just want to give a little bit about her and share a few things that she offers in terms of her service. Now, her service involves a holistic and intuitive approach in helping identify and moving past blocks and blind spots that reside in the subconscious while helping you cultivate a business and a marketing strategy that brings the highest vision of your business to life. Now, some of the offers or some of these services that she is offering that touch on that topic is one, she offers a Shine Your Light mentorship, which is a 3-month transformative sacred business journey that will help you to accelerate your creative expression and conscious business evolution. And two, the soul purpose planning / intuitive business consulting. Now, she is, as we all are, a multifaceted being, and her service has expanded. And so some of the other things that she is co-creating and offering as a service is she's a co-creator of Open to Transparency and Unity Live. She has her own podcast called the Soul Collective Podcast. In addition to her services, she's also offering an intuitive astrology soul blueprint sessions, sound healing sessions, and unity field healing sessions, all of which I will leave links down below in the description box to her website so you can dive deeper into these services, to contact her. And without further ado, I am so honored to present to you this conversation. I would be very curious to know your experience, and then because I know that you have knowledge of like the planetary alignments, and I've heard briefly of something about I think Peter Tung mentioned about the galactic gateways open or something of this nature. Maybe that's more into the galactic astrology, but the way he expressed it is like right now the energies are really ripe for things to come up, to be transmuted, and for us to step further into our I am presence. And I know that can be said all the time, but for me, so much has been coming up. Like, I would almost say that it's definitely been brutal. A lot of tears, brutal in a loving way. Okay, lots of tears, lots of things that I had no awareness that I had running, and but palpably feeling, that it's all in this momentum of shifting us to something amazing and grand, clearing out the old to allow the new to come in. So again, how has been your experience with these energies, and can you explain like a little bit of the planetary alignments and what's going on to kind of explain this?
Yeah, this is such a fascinating conversation. I'm so grateful you directed us in this way to explore, because it's something that I've just been talking about recently as my experience during this time. And I was comparing it to actually last year during this time. And for me, it's had a very similar energy in the sense that it feels like a ramping up of sorts. Mm-hmm. Of intensity. And I think in some ways it's by design. You share about sort of like galactic planetary alignments and energies. And I know for us right now, the sun is conjunct the galactic center, which is really like this point of higher cosmic intelligence. And the galactic center can really help activate these codes within us, which are around freedom, around truth, around our connection to really embody and connect with our higher multidimensional awareness. And, the other thing that I think is interesting about this time is the holiday season, but also like the true embodiment of Christ consciousness during this time. And then you contrast that energy with all the things that kind of tend to happen around this time of year, which is busyness, which is an increased, level of commitment oftentimes, which can be a wonderful, joyful time, but can also be like a very emotional and challenging time. And for me personally, it's been a mixture of those energies, but I feel similarly to you, is that like we're moving through something that is so transformative and really helping to make way for these new energies. And there's like so much that is going to be shifting and changing. I feel like as we move into this next linear year, that this is almost like this alchemical process that needs to take place.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I've been saying all along, and arguably this might be said of every next now moment, but there's something about 2023 that I just feel is so potent. I've heard it, I can't remember exactly how it was described, but when people were describing 2020, 2021, 2022, I'll just say it was very fitting to how my experience was. But 2023 it feels like, there's always room for things to come up and release, but for whatever reason, 2023 feels like very magical in the sense of people embodying more qualities of Christ consciousness. Perhaps certain technologies that were suppressed will be released. More conscious communities being birthed and out in public and so forth. How do you feel 2023's energy to be?
Well, it's interesting that you hit on those specific, integrations, because I feel like there is an opening for that energy. And I do feel like there's still this alchemical energy that we're moving through collectively. But one of the interesting shifts I feel that's very significant about moving into 2023 is that Pluto is going to move from the sign of Capricorn into the sign of Aquarius. And that's a very significant shift. And I feel like it's one of those markers that will help move us and shift us into the age of Aquarius. And when we think about moving from, the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, it is all of those like values that you just hit on: innovation, community, like really bringing forth this energy that helps and assists and elevates the collective of humanity. So it is really this innovative, community-focused way of thinking and being and relating. And so I do feel like that is going to be a big part of that energy.
It never ceases to amaze me, to blow me away. We were talking beforehand, like the synergy that gets put together in co-creations that we recently had with others. And I know that we're moving to the age of Aquarius, but I don't know what that actually means other than, leading what we've been experiencing. It's so free to kind of confirm to me without me knowing that. That's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. I love the synchronicity. And, another kind of embodiment that comes to mind with the age of Aquarius is really just this energy of individuality. And really this embracing of everybody's unique, distinct gifts. Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, which is the great awakener. It's about this energy that really wants us to not hide the quirky, the strange, the original, the unique aspects of ourselves, and really bring those into greater transparency.
I love that because I had a lesson learned in a gathering that I was participating in, and I knew this, but for whatever reason, it wasn't coming to my forefront. And although my intention was to attempt to create a unifying, coherent energy with the group, I kind of got how do I word this? Narrow-minded into thinking that unity means that we're all, not only are we vibrating the same frequencies, but we are all having the same or similar intakes forms of food, and same thing with our lifestyles and all of these things. But then, as it was reflected back to me by a few of these members so beautifully, that I think the true unity and unconditional love is embracing our individuality and loving everyone for where they're at, and in terms of creating that cohesive field, it being more just ensuring that everyone's in the heart and wherever they're at on their journey, honoring that and loving that. And so when you brought up unity or individuality, I just immediately took me there. And these are truly some incredible times, and I'm so grateful to be here experiencing all of this.
Yeah, I literally have, tears just hearing that reflection and, awareness, because it's I feel like such a beautiful journey to accept the differences that we all have, and see each of us as a reflection of Source embodied, and really vibrating in our own unique way, shape, form, but just to really appreciate the magnificence that each individual reflection of Source brings.
Yeah. I think it was said to me in that setting, we all have different experiences or different felt senses. I can't remember the word specifically of what high vibrational looks like. And that kind of ties into the story that I just shared with you. But I would be curious if you feel okay to share this. What is, I guess, in that sense, what does embodying your highest potential look like to you?
That's such a great question. I feel like the first thing that's coming to mind is that it's a journey. I mean, I feel like we're so different moment to moment, day to day, and that it's a constant journey. We're constantly evolving. And, for me, that journey looks like a willingness to go within and to really look at those, tender places and spaces that do require more love or more attention or more grace. And for me, that has been an alchemical process, because the more that we bring that love and that acceptance to ourselves, the more that we really mirror that out in our external reality. At least that has been definitely the case in my own journey. It's like, how much love, how much acceptance, how much peace can I find within myself? It always starts within, and it's like always bringing it back. Like, what is happening in my external reality? Is this a relationship, or is this an experience that feels crunchy, or that feels like I'm, moving against something that feels like there's area for expansion. And it's like, okay, so what is this experience teaching me? Like getting really curious about it.
Mm.
And that's been my journey and process of really opening up to, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I was kind of asked something in a similar way, and I was asked to sum it up, and I put trust and then directing all of my thoughts, emotions, and actions from my heart center. And as I asked you that, I realized even to try to define what our highest potential is almost is a little limiting. And I love how you said, like, you use the word journey. That's the process. Like, there's not a destination, but going back to what I just shared, that is the foundation. Then the journey of where you're going is beautiful in of itself.
Yes, and it's infinite. I mean, it's limiting to define it almost in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, that highest potential, I feel like also shifts and changes as we grow and evolve of like, okay, this is what it looks like in this present moment. And it's amazing, and it's, filled with joy, and it's filled with, and then we're constantly creating. So it may look like something different in a new now moment.
Yes. I want to kind of touch back on something that I had brought up originally, because this week has been so profound for me. And I know, keeping in mind that we're all so unique on our journeys, but I would like to ask you, given that your experience and wisdom with astrology and just being intuitive and everything else that you are, what advice would you give to those who are experiencing the energies this weekend, to kind of usher in more grace and ease during this time?
It's such a beautiful question. Well, my human design is a manifesting generator, and that energy can, be described as a lot of energy that can be directed at a lot of different projects, and so it can look like high energy. And the reason why I share this is because this week I haven't felt that way at all. It's been like, wanting to be still, wanting to like read a book and just relax in bed. And you know what? Like, my old tendencies would be like, oh, but you have so much that, you wanted to work on, or so many projects. And really, I've had to be so much gentler with myself during this time. And that's really like what I've personally felt called to do, is more silence, more stillness, more receptivity, and just attuning to the energies, attuning to what my body needs, and giving myself even extra, So that would be my greatest piece of advice, is to really, give yourself what you need, even if it, doesn't make logical sense or it doesn't fit with your schedule. It's like just being extra kind, taking the time, being still.
I love that. You just hit my experience of what I've intuitively been guided to do as well. And I think I termed this week feels like a recovery week, but in a sense, that's what I'm referring to, like not doing too much, and just, if I'm being called to just sit, read a book, or to just nourish myself, be loving to myself, because the things that have been coming up, I think that was so beautifully shared. Being extra loving and kind to yourself, and just, actually that's a really beautiful point to kind of move into, which is, finding the flow of your own journey, and not feeling like the old paradigm is just like, go, 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 you need to work. And when that takes place, there's so much grinding and takes a toll on you physically, mentally, and emotionally. But when you find that flow, when you feel the need to rest, when you feel the need to take action, how important that is. So could you share like how that has impacted you on your journey of having that awareness, and maybe share any advice or tools along the way that's helped you to have more clarity in feeling the flow of your journey?
Yeah, this has been probably the biggest shift, honestly, for me, is to learn how to appreciate receptive spaces and energy, and to be in the silence and to appreciate spaciousness. And there was a time in my journey where I would literally like plan out every minute of the day.
Yeah.
And it sounds, crazy to reflect upon, but that was a big shift, was to learn how to appreciate the space and feel comfortable in the space.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of times the distraction and the go, go, go and the pace that, collectively is present is because of a level of wanting to distract and to not be fully present with our emotions, with how we're feeling, with our own energy. And so part of the slowing down is a willingness to open to energy, a willingness to open to feel, to really embrace all that is arising, and to be okay with, and to see like your own energy in a new way. And so one of the things that I would recommend is like just to learning how to read our own energy. And sometimes, for energy readers or intuitives, that that's a gift of like being able to read other people's energy, but to really, okay, what is the imagery that I'm getting right now about my energy? Like, what is it? What am I experiencing it? Is it, what pace is it? Does it feel like there's flow there? Does it feel spacious? Does it feel creative? Like, and in actually really connecting with your energy on a daily basis. And that will tell you like what you need, if you need more silence, if you need more rest. I find that imagery can actually be really helpful to tell that story and to, better attune to what it is that you're experiencing and you're feeling. And like, I just want to share from this journey, because it's been like such an amazing practice, I guess, of like learning how to have fun in the creative play. And, you and I were on a panel together recently that was about finding and discovering your soul purpose. And one of the things that came up was this idea of like, what if you don't know what you enjoy doing? Or what if you don't know what your purpose is? And I feel like one of the reasons why this may be is because you are not allowing yourself to play. And maybe it's because like, you had a childhood where there was a focus on being serious, or like, this is a way to do things. And, and so it's that journey of allowing ourselves to play, because in that journey of being able to play and to create, we're able to really see what it is that lights us up, where we find that joy. Yeah.
I love that you tie that in. I was getting chills. That's a favorite topic of mine, because we're so programmed with being so serious, and that joyful, well, I wouldn't say joyfulness, but like playing is for kids, and adults need to be serious. And, but when I have stepped into that joyful playfulness, as you just so eloquently shared, and I never even made that connection. So thank you for sharing that. It really allows you to see like what lights you up, and I've known that I've always described it as it like kind of lights up your path of finding a purpose. But just how you share that, like, that's a really important factor of like knowing what lights you up, so you know which way to go on your path to explore and further expand and see where it takes you. Um, so with that, what's your, I've heard the expression moment, seasons, lifetimes. And what if one moment what lights you up is a certain activity or a practice, and then for whatever reason it's not lighting you up, but maybe that you still stick with it because it has worked for you. I'm not sure what I want, what to ask you, but let me just say what's coming up from your heart. Like, what can you share in that scenario?
So many things coming up because you're hitting on something so big, you know, and I feel like what it brings up for me is this idea that of sometimes, you know, the identities that maybe we can place on ourselves, you know, and oh, I do this thing, and so therefore I am this thing, you know, and then we're really truly so much more than we're such multi-dimensional beings, and you know we can express in infinite ways, and that's so creative in and of itself. You know, our potential is just this infinite creativity, and so I have definitely run up against, you know, moments where it's like, no, but I have to do this thing, and this is a part of what I've done, and I'm learning to let go more and more. And one thing that I love embracing is being a beginner. Because without being a beginner, we really, it's hard for us to explore the things that we love. And I find this can be something big that holds people back, is like, oh, I don't want to do it wrong, or I don't want to, you know, start out. But it really is embracing that the journey and embracing the courage it takes to start anything anew and move in the new direction, because there's so much beauty in that, and so much joy in just the process of discovering. And if we don't journey there, then it's like this wasted potential, this wasted, you know, curiosity of something that is on your heart to explore. You know, what do you feel about that?
No, well, I first want to say that was once again beautifully shared, because there's this guy named Haidu Portal, but he's like all into movement, and he shares, he breaks it down and learning something. There's different levels, and to kind of use your terminology, when you're in that beginner level is when you're the most curious, you get the most growth out of it, because it's new and it's exploring. And then he goes to share like this is the most key phase, because after that there's a little bit of a complacency or a less of a drive. I mean, yes, there is. You're still driving to explore, but it's not the same as that initial like finding something new. And that resonated with me because I feel in my reality that's so true. And as you're sharing like the new things, expressing yourself infinitely and trying new things, and even if you were doing something and for whatever reason that's not lighting you up anymore and you do something else, just that in of itself, it sounds and it feels refreshing to do new things. And it's not to say that you always need to be consistently doing new things, because some things, I think that's why I love the saying, moment, season, or lifetime. Like there's little categories that fall into. But I think you touched on a huge key in your sharing, which is the courage, the letting go, or I would say also the trusting and the surrender. And I think one of how I describe control, because letting go, like you said, is a fear-based frequency telling the universe that you don't trust, that you will be supported or taken care of, when in actuality that is our core essence. So when you said letting go, I thought, yes, like that is so important, because you were sharing like sometimes we can get over identified with like, this is what I am and I need to hold on to this because this is how I made my name. It's like, just trust and let go and, and watch that blow your mind or your heart or however you want to express it in that moment.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like when there are points in time where it feels like, oh, I'm still holding on to this thing, whatever it is, and then you finally surrender. You finally let go. It's like this feeling of like putting down a backpack. Like why was I carrying it around for that long? Like it was really time to let it go, and it opens up all of this energy that can be directed at something new.
Yeah, yeah, that feeling of freedom, it really invokes that when you're letting go and you're surrendering and trusting, and um, in that same day, or not the same day, but a few days after, we had a panel, and I spoke about activating our Christos template. That's exactly why it's so. There's many reasons why that topic is so profound and meaningful to my heart, but these topics that we're talking about, trusting, surrendering, freedom, all these are aspects of that template when fully embodied. So one can only imagine, like, if all these are truly embodied and day to day, like right now, you and I already feel, just touching it, like what that feels for us and how much grace and ease that brings to us. So to fully embody that, like, um, it gives me another understanding of what enlightenment could look like.
Yeah.
I know it expresses uniquely for each individual, but yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I feel like what's coming up for me as you're sharing is that it's like the simplest things that can be the most profound, like trust and surrender and forgiveness and compassion and non-judgment. I mean, these are the things in my mind that are the embodiment of the Crystal template, and yet,
Yeah.
there's so much to be discovered.
Yeah. That's exactly another factor of why I love it too, because it is so basic. I almost will go as far as to say I look at it as building a strong foundation of going within. And I really love basketball. I still do to a certain extent, but I just don't watch it as much. And one of the things that was constantly being talked about that I can equate to this is they're talking about people coming in don't have the fundamentals down anymore. They're going right to the advanced and expert stuff, where the fundamentals is where the bread and butter is. And similarly, on the spiritual journey, from my experience, when I tried going into the advanced stuff, not to say it's wrong to do it that way, to not have that foundation there, it's definitely has its challenges. And so to take it back to the simple grounding this foundation down, and not just intellectually, but embodying it, now you're set up to whatever you're going to step into, like, it's just going to be so much grace and ease.
I love that you bring this up. This is a huge, and that you tie it to a sports analogy, which everyone can relate to. And it's true. It's like, learning how to dribble, or in music, you learn how to do the scales. Like, this is the basic building blocks. And, I feel like for the ascension journey, like one of the fundamentals is like learning how to raise your vibration, learning how to elevate. And in addition to, all the things that you're sharing, but it's like, how do you really, have that inner practice that allows for you to maintain an elevated, vibration, and to really elevate your frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you touched on something that I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. And I know that you just recently started getting into and playing with music. And for me, music, and at a soul level, and I'm excited because I still haven't fully, dived into it or dove into it, however the terminology is. It's really so profound to me. And the power of sound and music and So could you just share anything that's coming up to you right now in regards to music, sound, and maybe how it's impacted your journey and what's been your experience with in playing uh, in this area?
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful question. Um, I've always loved music. Since I was little, I always like wrote songs and liked to sing. And um, but there was a time when I felt like self-conscious about expressing music or creating in that way. But I feel like it was always within me. And this is such a good example, I feel like, of being okay with being a beginner, and just exploring, because I had experienced for myself just the profound ability for music to shift something on a cellular level, like through sound healing ceremonies, through being in a place and space where there was conscious music being played, or something like this, and really responding to the energy and the frequency. And I feel like we are all music in a sense, because we are comprised of light and sound waves, and so it really had the ability to create a shift in my life. And so that was the kind of the catalyst for me to want to explore music, to want to learn about it, to want to play and just explore. And from there, it was like, getting in touch with all of these instruments and how do you play them. And one of the most profound moments for me was this sound healing training practitioner retreat that I went on, and it was led by somebody who, both of his parents were deaf, and he's an incredible musician. And when he was growing up, it was like just this appreciation of, there's no right or wrong way to play. You just play for the love of creating. And that was really the energy that he embodied. And that was the energy that allowed for, this creativity, this exploration of like, okay, what if there wasn't a right way to play, and we just are, here playing instruments and connecting? Because if you take that kind of judgment piece out of it, or the like, oh, am I doing it right? Is this, then you're free. Then you're really free to create and to explore. And that, I feel like, is such a profound energy to be with anything that we kind of are exploring, but definitely with music. Because music, we are music. And like you were touching on earlier, music is a universal language. So music is within us, and we can really connect with it on so many different levels, especially when we just allow ourselves that permission to play and to create and to explore.
What a profound sharing of that being embodied. You embody that. Like, that was so beautiful to hear, because I know of myself that voice that came up when I was messing around with instruments. I'm like, am I doing this right? Like, should I? I'm like looking around, like, well, but to really be in that place of truly understanding that there is no wrong or right way to go about anything, just play. That's when the magic takes place. And I think also that ties into like why we are, we look at people that inspire us so much. And I guarantee you, if you look at the common thread, it's because they're doing something in their field that they let go of that sound of like, am I doing it right? They're just playing, and that magic's manifesting. So now they're popular, or they're having good followers and so forth. And when, like, for my example, when I've seen someone who's in that flow, I want to do that. And I thought it was to literally be whatever they were doing, but it's more going deeper. It's like, no, he's embodied that there's no judgment. He's in that joyful frequency, and everyone has the ability to create and expand in that. And that, I think, is what was driving that inspiration.
So beautifully said. Yeah, it's that flow state. It's that energy when you're like the outside world just disappears. You're just doing what you love, what lights you up.
Yeah, I think there's so many layers to this, but in the flow of simplicity, I want to go into this before I say this. I truly feel that, and going back to the question of finding our purpose, being joyful or doing things that bring you joy is it's such a way filled with so much grace and ease to find that. And I'm trying to think of anything else. And really, joy just stands out of what will get one there. What's your perspective on it?
Yeah. One thing I feel is interesting is to reflect on what would you do if you had all the time, all the resources in the world? Like, how would you spend your time? You know, what would you gravitate to? What would you explore? Like, what would be drawing your curiosity? And oftentimes it is, synonymous with what brings you joy. But I feel like it is that curiosity that draws you forward, and what you would do without any external anything for. It's just internal discovery that is beckoning you forward.
I love that. It's such a beautiful, simple practice one can do. Earlier today, I was with our beautiful friend, Brian Henry, and he had us participate in something similar where he said, close your eyes. We're going to time travel in 3 seconds. We're going to wake up. We're in 2023, and 1, 2, 3, open the eyes, and he said, now tap into this frequency of, or the end of 2023, of I'm totally lost this, but like what took place at the end of 2023. And so we wrote down like what took place in 2023. You're writing a note, and then and travel back to 2022, and that practice of that's so funny. I was going, tapping into that frequency and feeling into it. Just it's because everything's in the now moment. So there was a way I was bringing this in with what you just shared. That's so funny. I'm totally losing it. But I guess I'll just bring it back to saying that was such an amazing, simple exercise.
Yes, yeah. I've had future self activations and experiences like that, and it feels you connect so tangibly in the present moment with a future aspect of yourself, or perhaps something that you desiring to experience. And it's a really great tool, I find, to connect with the frequency of that which you're calling in and creating. I think visualization is also a really powerful tool for that as well, because it's like seeing in your mind's eye an image of yourself, doing whatever it is that is calling to you.
So what would you say I resonate with that 100%. What would you say to someone who says they're not a visual person, or they haven't been able to so far see, in the third eye, and yet you still would love them to participate in an exercise? How would you deal with that situation?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So one way is just to relax and to really see a version of yourself, and just to connect with that energy of yourself first, and get more comfortable with that, and visualizing yourself, connecting with your own energy. And from there, it's kind of like playing a game. Can you pretend to see yourself on a stage, or can you pretend to see yourself scuba diving in the ocean? Like, just kind of trying that on and getting practice with that. But I also find that everybody kind of learns and connects in a different way. And, for some people, it might be like visualizing and closing their eyes. And for other people, it might be actually like drawing a picture. I'm going to draw myself of what that feels like. And for other people, it might be like, I'm going to, write in my journal and write about this experience, or I'm going to like speak it into a voice note of what it feels like to connect in this way. So I feel like it's great to play and experiment and try out all of these different ways.
I love how that came full circle to what we were sharing about, like, just play, enjoy, be joyful. And I think you touched on such an important aspect to that, which was calming down, breathing. Because, like, let's say if this was like in a master class and we were all guided to do so, someone who had that belief system running, I can just imagine the fight or flight that would take place. I'm like, oh, I can't see, like, what and your person was like, okay, let's just calm down, let's just breathe. And right then and there, like, you're already opening the flow of the creative energy that will come to you, just as you shared, like, of knowing how to play or where to play, whether it's paint, whatever, music. So key.
Yeah, and you just hit on something that is so key, which is the fact that, when we are in a state of fight or flight, or anxiety or something like this, it's really hard to tap into creativity, the different, brainwave state. And so, like, really bringing our nervous system down, taking some deep breaths, grounding ourselves, feeling safe in our bodies. This allows for accessing our creative potential.
Yeah, I 100% resonate, and I know I touched on that a little bit first, but I was just reflecting on as giving, like, when I had the talk, I remember I had so much energy running through. I'm sure there was threads of, like, a little bit of anxiety, but I set with the intention that I set to bring forth, like, the highest and best. It was almost a little overwhelming, and I was using the words to describe my experience, and I felt myself kind of fight or flighting mode and going into it, and intuitively I was breathing, and then I immediately felt the shift of how much that aided me. And I just wasn't until we were talking about this till I realized, even though I did it intuitively, reflecting on it, I'm like, oh wow, thank you. I'm so glad that I did that.
Yeah, that's such a great example. And that was the first thing that came to mind too, when I said that was about speaking, because I feel like everyone can relate to that in some way. Like, oh, maybe like the butterflies of speaking, or the energy, that heightened energy that comes through, and that, like, deep belly breathing, like connecting with your breath, so that slow down. I mean, that could be helpful in literally any situation, but definitely speaking.
Yes, yeah, that's so fun. I love that you specified about the belly breath. That's something in particular that has really aided me on that as well. I want to just take this time to thank you so much for not only this co-creation, but as our journeys have been unfolding in the way that it has. I am really grateful to have crossed paths with you, and to witness your beautiful expression of the unique expression that you are. And I am so grateful for this co-creation.
Thank you. I'm so, so grateful and inspired by you and your path and your journey and the light that you bring, and just you being in your space. So
Thank you.